Hello, everyone. I do believe I am live. My name is Madison, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at the Business Software Center. Every Tuesday at 3 o'clock London time, we bring you our Coffee Talk TBSC, which you can see the hashtag there on my screen. And basically, it's just a time for us to network and communicate about anything software related or the happenings of current technology trends. If you ever need to get in contact with me, please email me info@businesssoftwarecenter.com, or you can use the hashtag CoffeeTalkTBSC on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. You can ask me questions, let me know how I've been doing, all of that stuff. Feel free to communicate with me on social media. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. Before I get started, though, keep in mind our questions and answers section is open, so feel free to just leave me any questions or comments, and I'll be sure to get them at the end of the presentation. This presentation is on how to improve your team's collaboration. So first, I want to ask you this question. How would you describe good, effective communication? This is a really tough question for us to really think about because we all have different listening styles, understanding styles, and of course, factors like gender and culture and all that other stuff really play into how we perceive the world and how we understand ourselves in reflection to others. So this answer that I have here might be a little different for you, and that's okay. But in general, I would say effective communication is not just getting your point across to others as quickly as possible. I would say it's definitely an interconnected system where ideas flow comprehensively and sustainably, and that often involves perhaps clarifying or having more patience depending on who you're talking to. So I would say good or effective communication is definitely a two-way street. You can't just be constantly talking and assume the other person's listening. I would also advise asking questions or providing time for feedback in order to make sure people actually understand the points that you're getting across. So why and when do we need communication? I would say, we need communication, proper communication, pretty much in every aspect of our lives. Certain things that we might say might come off wrong, or, we might tell a joke that might come off crude, which shouldn't have come off that way. So I would say we need communication in not only our business lives, but even our personal lives as well. But from a business standpoint, I would say good communication improves employee engagement. So I would say if you're an HR department, for instance, and you have an open door policy of communication with your employees, they might feel more inclined to come talk to you about certain issues that they're struggling with. But from employee to employee, good communication can eliminate such things like email overload. Rather than constantly sending emails, you can call them up or text them, or if you're still working in the office, of course, walking up to their desk and just having a face-to-face conversation. Other elements of good communication can boost your productivity. So if you have a staff that's fully engaged with one another and in the know of the company goals and the expectations, then you can certainly see an increase of productivity with staff. So I would say in situations like this, we definitely like to see businesses have meetings, regular meetings, whether that's daily or weekly or monthly, however it may work for your business. Company meetings are pretty good just to make sure everyone's on the same page with everything. Now, of course, good communication provides a flow of information. And so, if policies are changing within your business, if you're taking on a new client, of course, you need these open channels to kind of provide the new information to the rest of your staff. What we have found is proper communication or good communication can improve remote work. We did see that there is a large increase of loneliness throughout the pandemic, and so having that communication can certainly help reduce that loneliness feeling that remote workers have often felt. And as I mentioned with information, it's kind of the same as knowledge, but there is an increase of knowledge. And of course, at the end of the day, the business is definitely one to want to engage with their customers and increase customer engagement. And one way to do that is having excellent customer service, and one way of doing that is certainly having proper communication channels. I know that with the switch from office to remote work, a lot of businesses have switched from call centers to automated chat services online that can break down exactly what the customer needs and then forward them off to the correct person that they need to talk to. So not only, I feel like in this situation, my advice would be, if you are dealing with customers on an everyday basis, certainly have several channels open. Call center is still a valid option, but also start incorporating chats and emails, just giving them those options to communicate in an effective way for your business. Now, I would say that even though there's all these benefits to communicating, sometimes businesses just don't have the best communicating practices. And I would say we definitely saw a shift in communication because of COVID-19. Obviously, a lot of us went from office work to remote work, and that made us have less face-to-face time. But other situations that businesses may encounter is perhaps language barriers. Maybe somebody you hired isn't your native language speaker, and that's okay, but you just need to have a little bit more understanding when engaging with them and come up with the best practices in order to communicate effectively with those with language barriers. Another issue we've seen is some companies do not offer feedback. They don't ask their employees to do surveys for them, or they just simply don't have this open door policy where employees even feel comfortable enough to communicate issues or even positive feedback. So I would say one challenge to business for sure is the lack of feedback that businesses get from their employees. Another challenge to business communication is definitely new employee onboarding. This one is certainly tough, especially if you don't have training books in place, or you have a different training style compared to the learning style of the employee. But we definitely see that sometimes the retention of new employees is hard because new employees have issues understanding the communication between themselves and the business, vice versa. And now, of course, there are physical disabilities to be aware of, such as hearing problems or speech problems. And there are different ways that you can certainly communicate with people who have physical disabilities to ensure that you're communicating the best of your ability with each other in order to form an understanding. So I just want to focus primarily on all the research we did with Microsoft 365, just because, we're in the middle of the pandemic still and remote work is still really high. So we're just going to focus on some of the research we did with Microsoft 365. And our biggest findings are that 89% of organizations are not fully utilizing their apps. And this is dangerous for communication because that means that 43% of users don't even use their Teams. And so Microsoft Teams is a wonderful tool for communication. Now, of course, you have other options like Google and Zoom, etc. But I mean, Teams is pretty much a one-stop shop to communication because it does provide all of these tools in one area for you. And it's such a shame to see that 43% of businesses aren't using to the fullest capacity. And so what that does is not only does that ruin your opportunity for effective communication strategies, but it also makes you lose your return on investment because you're paying for something and you're just simply not using it. Now, you have to ask yourself some questions like, okay, well, why is it we're not using Teams? Is it because we need to provide the training for our employees? Is it because they're remote staff and they don't know they have this item? Is it simply because they're using other applications? I mean, these are questions that we can certainly help you out with today. But I would say Microsoft Teams can help you in so many ways. Of course, it's a virtual workspace. I'm sure most of you guys know this, but it does provide the email, the meetings, the calls, the video calls, the texting. You can download it on your phone, you can download it on your computer. It's basically connected anytime and anywhere, and even whenever you use it offline, you can upload documents once you get into a Wi-Fi signal. So Microsoft Teams is a really good place to really improve your communication strategy with your remote workers. Now, of course, it does have the security features as well, so you don't necessarily have to worry about important communication leaking, because we do have those security features with Microsoft Teams. Then, of course, with these meetings and stuff, you can always do company-wide meetings, and these can host over like 250 people. I think over 500 people now. They constantly are updating Microsoft Teams, so I could have the number wrong, but I mean, you can really have so many people in these meetings. And of course, you can make the option where they just become attendees, so they can listen to the presentation rather than participate, other than in the questions and answers section, just like I'm doing here today with this presentation. Now, there are opportunities for third-party app integrations. So quintessentially what that means is, of course, you can integrate different applications that you're using into Teams, but I would say this is really good for those who might be hearing impaired, because what you can do is integrate audio-visual equipment to better their experience with communicating. And of course, you have the live voice-to-text option, so those who might be hearing impaired have the option of reading the text as you are talking throughout the meeting, which I think is great. And then, of course, Microsoft Teams did launch the Headspace app, and this is specifically for mental health, but, you know, it does improve overall employee satisfaction, because what it does is it gives employees updates on, sorry, we just have a bit of traffic driving by me right now, but what happens is you can set time aside for breaks, and you can track your mental health, and can really take some time for yourself throughout the workday in order to make sure you're not experiencing any burnout, which I think is great. And overall, I feel like having a happy employee would make them more prone to wanting to engage more with the team. So my question is, do you know where you stand with Teams usage? Well, like I said, a lot of our businesses that we track and monitor are not using their Teams. 43% is a pretty big number. So most customers are in the red. You know, they're not using all of their applications. And so our goal here at the Business Software Center is to make sure that you use your applications to the fullest. And so our goal is to bring you from the red into the green. And so basically what we help you do is we can set goals for you. We can help measure your team's usage. We can identify different variances, and we can implement solutions. So one of our solutions we certainly can implement is obviously providing the right training for your team to let them know for sure, or to teach them how to use the products so that they know how to use them moving forward. And then, of course, you can track and monitor the usage and see how your team has improved over a month time period, for instance. So yeah, we can certainly help you with that. And of course, with usage, this is just a picture of our Smarter SaaS dashboard here. What we do is we give you a brief overview, and then of course you can select Microsoft Teams and really see for yourself exactly which user needs help the most. And so an example of that would be here. Anything in the red means they're just simply not using it. Green means, wow, they're using it. And then any of the colors in between just means a little bit of usage. And so we can definitely identify training needs, and we can align the right course for you. And we can, of course, measure the improvements of your team. So if you are interested in an efficiency health check, which means seeing where exactly you are on the scale and how to get improvements, certainly get in contact with me. Our Smarter SaaS is available on Microsoft Apple App Source and Marketplace for free download. So you're welcome to download it for free and give it a try, or contact me, info@businesssoftwarecenter.com, and we can certainly set you up for a free 30-day trial to see exactly where you are at with your usage and improve your communication. So that does end my presentation, but I will take any questions if there's any questions coming in. So let me just go ahead and see. I have a question. This probably came in before I started talking about Smarter SaaS, but it says, is there any way we can measure or assess effective communication? I mean, like I said, effective communication will vary depending on your business and just who you are as a person, or who you're talking to and who's listening. But I would say, a way you can assess whether or not communication is productive would be through our Smarter SaaS tool. Of course, we track and monitor it, and we just simply see how often it's used versus not being used. And you can really pinpoint problem areas in your business with this tool. So let me see if I have any other questions coming in here. Using Teams, how can you incorporate good communication skills? Okay, well, I mean, of course, text is one of those things that takes away the experience of a face-to-face conversation. And so ways that Teams tries to take away the nuances of the texting is, of course, they incorporate the video calls. So if you really want to see like the reaction, an in-person reaction or a live reaction, certainly try doing video calls. But then, of course, they do have the emojis as well. And even though emojis are just little characters, they are, pictures that can help non-verbally communicate effectively. In my opinion, I feel like emojis are great. They can really liven up a conversation with all the smiles, or be a little bit more serious as well. So I would say that's that. At this time, I don't see any other questions coming in, which is fine. I'm just going to go ahead and end this session. But keep in mind, we do have all March long, every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, a coffee talk. So please feel free to sign up on Eventbrite or LinkedIn, or even check out our website at businesssoftwarecenter.com/events. And get signed up for free. These webinars are absolutely free, and we look forward to seeing you at future webinars. Thank you. Bye.